And we just had a question come in about the athletes getting that session on their phone as well. Is that common for that to take place?
Yeah, we have a mixture. I mean, obviously we're dealing with the wet environment in diving once they go out to the pool. So that's one of the reasons I tend to use the PDF rather than the phone. Obviously they do all their feedback through the phone, which often is done at the end of the session. I think some of the other coaches are using, have a way in which they are using phones and iPads to keep it paperless. We're exploring versions of that. So there's a bit of both going on, I think, at the moment.
So this is another example of the dashboard where we call it the front page dashboard, where as soon as you log into AMS, this is what you're presented with, which is just a really nice overview of what's actually happening on AMS, or as the heading suggests, the engagement that we're having with AMS. So the coaches who are prescribing their sessions, that falls into on the right-hand side where it says water and dryland. And then the athletes are filling in their wellness and training log on their app, on the new AMS app, and that falls into the wellness and training log sections there. You can see we're having some really good engagement. And the second section below that's just the day in more detail.
And they are some really good engagement stats, and maybe this might be something for Michael or yourself, Owen. Have you found the engagement increasing once you've started to push more diving-related training prescriptions and things of that nature to the athletes on the mobile app? Has their engagement to wellness questions or training logs increased by virtue of implementing the actual training prescriptions onto the mobile app itself?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things, as we've all alluded to, is visualization of it looks a lot better and it's far more engaging. We're dealing with a population, like our divers range from 14, 15 all the way through to about 20. So they live on their phones pretty much 24/7. So accessibility, and now, because the coaches are engaged, because their programs are accessible, not just in paper form or on pool deck, you're actually bringing them into that part of that loop as well, so they feel connected, and they've provided feedback, as we've said as well. So it has been a slow transition, but our engagement over the last couple of months is certainly going up. As you can see from that, when we started this process, it was only coaches entering data. And then now it's coaches and a combination of athletes. And now the athletes are actually starting to fill out, because, there's still some prompts that come each week, but, our engagement is certainly increasing. And look, it will only further increase now that we've actually got a platform where all our meetings are going to be sort of delivered on this information. And then also when they go now to their physio obviously will pull up this information as well. Their S&C is being pulled in by Team Builder now. So, it's pretty hard to, I guess, escape from, their data, and they certainly are on their phones all the time. So, it's been a massive drive for us to obviously get them engaged, and also, again, making them part of the solution, I guess, because it was one of the criticisms from athletes was, well, what am I getting back? So you now no longer can do that, because all of the reports which we'll go through are actually accessible to them as well. So for me, transparency of data was actually really important. And, we had discussions early on, what data should the athletes be able to access? And they can access all their data. It's their data, let's be honest.
Mm.
From a technical point of view, this is just a really good oversight of the data that's actually going in. You're not only just getting the ones and the crosses, you actually can click on these ones and crosses. And unfortunately, I don't have a live demonstration ready to go, but you can click on the one and it brings up what that session is or how their wellness has been filled out. And you can actually look into the detail straight away as soon as you log in, really.
Yeah. It's very interactive. And I think that's important to note in that training log section, that's anything from, that could be them having a day off or they're missing training. Obviously, we see the wellness there, but that's also engagement, as Michael said, through their S&C program. So the load that's coming in and the data from their strength and conditioning is also included. So we've got all elements of load coming in from strength and conditioning, from our dry land training, and from what we're doing in the pool in combination to give us data that we can use to then make decisions about future prescription. I mean, for me right now, as I said, now we're looking at, with what we've moved away from, and we can't overlook the amount of time that was spent on making sure the prescription side of this worked, because that was a key. Because once we had data flowing in, then we, that's when sort of Owen appeared as this guy and was able then to sort of look at the way in which we would present this to the athletes. That was feedback, and they wanted to know, and they wanted something back from it. So, and it was as simple as, I remember the words pretty little pictures used in the early days to make sure that they could understand and could see what their training looked like, but without confusing them too much. So there was appropriate feedback for athletes, and then what we needed for our support science and our sports scientists. I think that was key.